Hello everybody and welcome to another top 5 board gaming video. Today's topic is all about games that have a depressing theme. So I know it sounds kind of nasty, but hear me out. With COVID-19 still spreading as well as a lot of other problems in the world, I thought that it would be kind of good to look at games and other concepts that enable us to have empathy for our fellow man as well as sort of look at the light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to situations like this. We as a society have seen it a lot throughout our history, and I think it's kind of an interesting way to view games in terms of, yes, this game has a very sad theme and a sad concept, but look at what we're doing. We're making it better. We're moving through. We're getting through it, even in the game, not to mention in the real world. So I think that we can view this as an uplifting idea. But with all of that, of course, I hope that you guys enjoy it, and most importantly, please leave anything and everything in the comments below as far as what you guys think about the theme in general, the games I picked, or anything else. With that though, we're going to get started right away with my number 5. At number 5, I've got Scythe. First off, this game is so low on the list because it is a reimagined version of the 1920s with a lot of sort of steampunk technology, but it is something that we see a lot throughout the real world in terms of post-war dystopia. In this case, warring factions trying to take over a swath of land in order to become the ruler of it. Now, that said, you don't really necessarily see the theme with regard to the common people, which again is also why it's so low on the list, because it's not really out front, but at the same time, just reading through the story, reading through the canon that this game has, it is definitely there, and in my eyes at least, it is pretty saddening. Scythe overall, my number 5. At number 4, I've got Gloom. This is a game that's all about death, which certainly categorizes as a depressing theme, but at the same time, it turns the formula on its head, where it's about the fun and weirdness of trying to create the most interesting and unique death possible for your particular character. So it's really fun, and it's very like pop gothic type of thing, where you have a lot of the macabre type of Edgar Allan Poe sort of imagery and things of that nature. It is a fun game. It is goofy. The theme is definitely there front and center, but at the same time, you're going to be laughing. You're not going to be crying and being depressed about it. And so it's just kind of an interesting way to approach the concept. I really like it overall, but with that, Gloom is my number 4. At number 3, I've got Fallout, based off of the video game series of the same name. This is in the middle of the pack because, frankly, crossing fingers, we have not yet lived through a worldwide nuclear apocalypse. Hopefully we won't, but at the same time, it is something that a lot of people are really scared of, and it is something that a lot of people have been prepping for. But that said, I find it to be something that is at least reasonably outlandish, that it's not something that's overly depressing, because the way that the game, both the board game as well as the video games approach it, is more of a state of camaraderie and an idea of banding together and working together to accomplish a task and accomplish a common goal, rebuilding society, coming back together as humans, and all of that kind of thing, unless you take the evil route in the video games, but we won't get too deep into that. Fallout is my number 3. At number 2, I've got radoncow. This is a very unique game about the US-led bombing raids on the Taiwanese city of Takao during World War II, where effectively within the game, what you have to do is you are playing as a regular, ordinary citizen, and you are simply trying to survive. Every round, the bombers are coming and bombing across the city. You are trying to rebuild the city, maintain your relationships with your fellow players, gather enough food and medicine that you can survive, and overall just try to keep your literal and figurative spirits up. It's a wonderfully well-designed cooperative game, and again, when you think about the overall theme of this, it is exceedingly depressing because you are literally living through an actual war. Not only that, but one that truly happened. But the point is that it's about survival. It is not about the war, it is not about the death or the dying, it is about surviving through and making it through as a community, as a society. Radoncow, my number 2. At number 1, I've got 14 Days. This is a very unique game that is about a very specific ailment, migraine headaches. This is something a lot of people suffer from, and the idea of this game is to sort of produce empathy for people who genuinely don't know how bad it is to get migraine headaches. The idea is that as you're playing through, you're trying to just go about your day normally, but depending on how bad of a migraine you get during a particular round, you become debilitated and you're not able to get done all of the things that you want to get done. It's a very unique way of showing people who don't understand how bad it is and how difficult it is for people to deal with, whether it's mental or physical problems on a day-to-day basis, and how people have to get through it. This is kind of a fascinating way that it's done in a game sense. It's not one that I've seen talked about really ever, but it's just really interesting for me in particular because I have family members who suffer from this, and so it's kind of an interesting thing for me personally in that context at least. So with that, 14 Days is my number 1. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this video on my top 5 favorite depressing theme games. Like I said at the beginning, though, I really wanted to try and spin this a little bit more in terms of these games providing empathy and hope in an otherwise desolate and bad situation, such as the one that we're living in with the current COVID-19 pandemic. It is not fun, obviously, for anybody involved, but at the same time, I think that playing games like this, whether they're board games or video games, can help us as people gain some empathy and really see what it's like for the other citizens of our world and all of that kind of stuff. That said, I'm probably asking too much from any sort of game. I like to think that I'm not, though. But either way, I hope that you enjoyed it again. If you haven't done so already, please take a look at my various social media pages where you can interact with myself and my channel in some really interesting ways. But with that, stay safe, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.